This title is kind of a lie, because obviously we did see Mike in Chapter 4, but just seemed like a gag character, as they're just a real microphone played off as a gag, which was very odd, and it seemed to be just used for laughs in the chapter. However, Mike still is a deeply confusing character to me, especially with the whole Mike fandom referencing boss fight. Really makes it seem like Mike has no relevance at all, as why else would that be made? But on the other hand, we still get dialogue in Chapter 2 and 3 about Mike, as he seemingly does have some importance and is a character, with Tenna mentioning how Mike changed after the mailman left. Honestly, this left me extremely confused, because is Mike just a joke, or is he minorly important? No matter what, I don't think we will ever see Mike in the game, as why else would they have that whole boss fight and microphone joke at the end? But I just want to discuss this basically non-existent character that has been sitting in my brain since Chapter 2 that I just need a vent about. So, without further ado, Mike, the board, please. Hey there. So originally I was going to do segments of me talking about Mike before Chapter 3 and talking about fan ideas at the time and the whole fandom and how I was feeling. However, I'm not doing this in this video because I found out there was already a video on Mike, and it came up as I was researching this video. It's by a channel called Serial Introvert, before and after Chapter 3, and I really didn't know about this video before making it, but I am really glad I saw it, as I wouldn't want to steal other ideas. And honestly, that video does a way better job talking about the community's history with Mike and Mike in general than I could ever do. So please check out that video. I'll put in the pinned comment on the video. So if you want more of a backstory on Mike, really, I think you should watch that video first. So if you don't know much about Mike, maybe go watch that video, then come back. It is a really great video, deep dive into the fandom and Mike's history. Really great, honestly. So I'm going to talk about Mike differently in this video than how I originally intended. A lot more personally in how I feel and my experience with Mike and how I feel now about Mike. Because before Chapter 3 and the confusion, like, I'm in so much confusion before Chapter 3 and now after Chapter 3, I'm just as confused, if not more. So I just want to talk about Mike for a bit. So go check out that video first if you want, or else let's keep on going.
So to still give my video some context, I do want to do a quick TLDR on the backstory on Mike, just quickly over. However, if you really want a deeper look that I was originally going to go into, check out the video I mentioned earlier, it will be in the pinned comment. So after the release of Chapter 2, all the way back, Mike was a relatively unknown figure mentioned by Spamton multiple times in dialogue. He was actually pretty known, very widespread across the community. This led people to believe that Mike was the TV character at the end of Chapter 2, you know, the one that smiled at us. However, after the release of the sweepstakes, it was basically revealed that the TV character was named Tenna. This caused new speculation on Mike, as people thought that he could be a secret boss in Chapter 3, or like a side character. Some people went as far as saying that Mike was the image_friend face, since that was heavily associated with cats, and that's where, like, Cat Mike was born from, which was also referenced in the boss fight in Chapter 4. Of course, after the release of Chapter 3 and 4, Mike turned out to be quite literally nothing that we expected, and it was basically just a little taste of Chapter 3 from Spamton. I guess that was the point of Mike originally. However, Mike is still very interesting though, just due to him having some relevance and none really at the same time.
So, my thoughts on Mike before Chapter 3 weren't really much. I just agreed with the majority of the fandom at the time, until we found out Tenna's name in the Spamton sweepstakes. Then I thought Tenna was the main boss of Chapter 3. And then after knowing about that, I thought Mike wasn't going to be a big character, I thought he was going to be a character. A lot of the ideas that I liked at the time that were being passed around was that he was like a minor character or like a shopkeeper. I thought that'd be really cool for his character. Similar to, like, I don't know, like, Sweet Cap and Cakes, but maybe not as annoying as them. I'm one of the haters of Sweet Cap and Cakes. But I never really thought Mike would be a secret boss or anything, because that in my head would sound too similar to Spamton, and wouldn't make much sense for a secret boss. So of course, Mike turned out to be none of these things, and just everyone was wrong. And I don't think anyone guessed this outcome for Mike, except for maybe, like, some kind of fan post. Maybe it was like, what if Mike was just a microphone? And honestly, kudos to whoever posted that, because that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. So, like, Mike doesn't exist, right? Like, I'm seriously wondering. I mean, the characters directly mention never meeting a Mike before stating, like, they don't exist or something, and that Tenna is just, like, making something up. And you would think at least one person would have mentioned Mike other than Tenna and Spamton, right? Because Spamton's obviously, like, kind of crazy, and Tenna is, like, what, supposed to be, like, making up Mike or something? Or, like, just disillusioned with Mike? Like, Mike is in this weird state. Like, I'm going insane. Obviously, this is what the frickin' fan service room was making fun of. But I can't stop wondering about what the intent of them was. Like, are they just supposed to be a mystery? Are they just supposed to confuse me more? Were they originally a minor character until Toby Fox just decided it would be better to make the fandom referencing gag in Chapter 4? I have no clue, to be honest. You can mention how Mike is known by Spamton as well, as I mentioned earlier. But Spamton's whole thing is that he's just like a knockoff of Tenna, right? He's just like, he says Mike because he's a knockoff of Tenna. He steals Tenna's theme, basically. Like, that's his whole theme, is that it's like Mr. Ed Tenna's TV time or whatever. Which is probably why he mentions Mike, unless it isn't. Like, is Mike something else for Spamton? Which is also what I want to talk about next, because I'm just so confused. Like, who is Mike? I know that's the whole point, right? It's a joke, but I'm seriously losing my mind still. So Spamton is a character that led us astray with Mike before Chapter 3, with Spamton mentioning Mike multiple times about how he'll never get put in Tenna's crew. Like, someone asked who is Mike, and they're like, are you part of that Cathode's crew during the Spamton sweepstakes, which is, I think Cathode is related to a TV. But Spamton also mentions Mike in multiple other dialogues briefly, which is really what led to the injury for the character. With him being in, like, the Friends, when you beat him, Spamton just mentions it. However, as I've discussed, Mike probably doesn't exist, right? And also Spamton, as I mentioned, is just a knockoff of Tenna in a lot of ways. So an idea I had was, what if Spamton's Mike and Tenna's Mike are different? Like, Tenna's is just, like, his thought. Like, what if they're two separate people? And maybe that person that Spamton refers to as Mike is the one who helped him be a big shot, which is probably like Gast or a friend or something. That was my idea in my head. Like, he just titled them Mike because he's a knockoff of Tenna or whatever. However, this probably doesn't work, just from tons of different dialogues in the game that I'm gonna mention in a second. Like, there's just so many dialogues contradicting it that I thought this was really cool until I realized. But then there's just dialogue that just, like, says that Mike might be real. I really hate this character, and I'm never gonna talk about them ever again, okay? Never again am I mentioning Mike after this video. Driving me too insane. I know that's the point, by the way. Just don't. But I just really, he's such a crazy character, man. So the reason this stuff with Spamton's Mike being someone else doesn't work, is for the point of dialogue when Tenna mentions about Mike changing since that, I forget what the dialogue is exactly, that salesman or mailman? He says one of the two. Like, ever since that salesman left, or mailman, I think it was salesman. Salesman left? Don't remember this dialogue by heart. Not yet. Hey, just wait by the end of this year. I'll know all of Chapter 3's dialogue. Trust me. Or, like, mostly memorized. And obviously that salesman is Spamton. It's pretty obvious. There's so much Spamton references by Tenna, like, in the thing. And that probably implies that Mike and Spamton were friends in some sort of way, with Mike changing after that salesman left. But also, Mike doesn't exist, right? Like, this is this is why I kept needing to change ideas for this video. Mike doesn't exist, so how could he change? The only feasible answer that I have is that maybe Spamton was, like, acting as Mike also, of course. Like, you know how there's the 3 mics in the whole room, right? Spamton was maybe one of the mics pretending to be them. And that's just like a whatever theory. Like, it's completely baseless. It's just making stuff up at that point, so it's not really a theory. Like, it's just like an idea, basically. Like, there's no specific evidence backing that up. Other than the one dialogue piece that the Mike changed ever since that salesman left, which would just imply that they're, like, the same because Mike doesn't really exist or whatever. And honestly, Mike will never be given any importance. I'm not getting answers to any of these, and neither are you. Like, if you're wondering if Mike's ever going to be answered again, they're not. They really aren't. You'll never see Mike, I promise you. That the reference is what you're getting, which I think is a good thing. There's no point in him being, like, a big character now after the gig, right? That wouldn't make sense. And I like the Spamton thing. Like, I'll talk about it in a second too. So, yeah. Mike is extremely confusing and will probably just be left in this state for the rest of Deltarune's history. Probably won't get any more news on it. I do think the whole fandom reference was extremely cool in Chapter 4. With the whole Mike fight and stuff with that, it just showed that Toby Fox cared. Has a whole unique gimmick to the fight as well. It's really cool. Can't wait for Asgore gets Death with Truck fight reference, guys, in Castletown. Come on. We gotta really keep that one up so we get a reference to that in Chapter 5. We got to. Come on. Has to happen. Thanks for listening to me rant about Mike for 10 minutes. I know this isn't much. I was planning on doing some other stuff with this video, but again, things changed and stuff like that, and also I wanted to make a cool theory out of it. It also just fell apart. Like, I can't bother debating like that theory because it doesn't make much sense with a lot of the dialogue. Like, I don't even believe my own theory about it of Spamton's Mike being someone different. So really, it's just me ranting about Mike, which is fun in its own way. Mike is a crazy character. Really not what I expected him to be in Chapter 4, and I'm kind of all here for it. I'm so glad Deltarune shattered all our expectations, really just told us that we were wrong the whole time, which is great. I like the unexpected. Again, please check out that video by Serial Introvert. Great thing about Mike and stuff like that. So much history on it, like on the thing. He did a pretty good research, and I do like the video. I watched it, so you should watch it too, if you want to see more stuff about Mike. And it does really give a good look into the fan base before Chapter 3, like, in its own way. Like, that's a slice of the fan base. Sorry for the long wait between videos, too. Just been busy with, like, common busy work. And they should return to normal now, I swear. Maybe I'll even try to post a bit more to make up for that. So thanks so much again, and goodbye.